March 24th, 2013, late Sunday afternoon, downtown Cleveland. The sidewalk outside 55 Erie View Plaza was busy enough to feel safe, quiet enough to feel exposed. Aliza Sherman stood alone waiting. She checked her phone, she paced. She had been there almost an hour. Her divorce attorney had asked her to meet him at his office. The trial was scheduled to begin the next morning. Everything needed to be finalized. She was cold. She was ready to be done with all of it. The cameras mounted above the entrance captured her movements. They also captured something else. A figure in dark clothing, face hidden, moving closer. By the time Aliza noticed, there was no time left to run. A scream cut through the afternoon air. A passerby saw her on the ground, bleeding heavily. The stranger called 911 and stayed with her, following every instruction the dispatcher gave. Aliza was rushed to Metro Health Medical Center. She was pronounced dead at 6:14 p.m. She had been stabbed 11 times. The next morning, the sidewalk was sealed off. Traffic was diverted. A murder investigation had begun that would stretch across more than a decade. Aliza was 53 years old. She worked as a fertility specialist at the Cleveland Clinic. Thousands of patients traveled from all over to see her. Her work was not only medical, it was deeply emotional. She helped families begin. She was known for being kind, warm, unfailingly supportive. Her best friend Jan described her as sunshine. Aliza was a mother of 4. She had been married for 30 years to Dr. Sanford Sherman. The marriage had ended. The divorce had dragged on. It had been messy, exhausting, and consumed much of her energy. Still, she remained focused on others. She never stopped showing up for her patients, her friends, her children. Just 10 days before her death, she sent her brother a text, "Trial in 2 weeks. Hopefully there is life after death." She was ready for a new chapter. She never got the chance to live it. Investigators arrived at the scene and quickly ruled out robbery. Her phone was still with her. Her jewelry had not been taken. There was no sign of sexual assault. The motive was unclear. The method was brutal. Surveillance footage showed the killer fleeing the scene moments after the attack. The person was dressed entirely in black. Their face was covered. Only their build and height were visible. The footage was clear enough to confirm what had happened. It was not clear enough to identify who had done it. Police canvassed the area. They knocked on doors. They spoke to nearby businesses. It was a Sunday. Most of the offices were empty. Phone records showed that Aliza had sent several messages while waiting outside. None of them had been answered. The attack felt deliberate. It felt personal. It felt planned. Aliza had no known enemy. Her divorce had been difficult, but there was no public evidence linking her ex-husband to the crime. He was never charged. He was never named a person of interest. Former Deputy Chief Ed Tomba later stated that investigators wanted to speak with him, but he retained an attorney and refused to cooperate. That refusal was noted. It was never explained. As the scheduled court date for the divorce trial passed, her family began planning her funeral instead. Police released still images from the surveillance video. Tips came in. None led anywhere. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The case remained open. Progress slowed. More than 600 people attended her funeral. Family, friends, colleagues, patients. All of them trying to make sense of something that made no sense at all. 2 years passed, then 3. Every year on the anniversary of her death, her family and friends gathered with signs demanding justice. They refused to let her case fade. In January 2016, nearly 3 years after the murder, a grand jury returned an indictment. The charges were not for murder. They were for tampering with evidence, obstructing justice, and making false statements. The person charged was Gregory Moore, Aliza's divorce attorney. The last person she had planned to meet that day. The reason she had been standing on that sidewalk at all. Detectives had interviewed him early in the investigation. His timeline had inconsistencies. He claimed he forgot about their meeting. He said he had been in his office. Phone records and other data suggested otherwise. He had deleted thousands of text messages, including ones exchanged with Aliza on the day she was killed. He sent her messages before and after her death that made it seem like he was in the building. He was not. The charges went further. Moore had also called in bomb threats to local courthouses in 2012. The threats were made on days when he was scheduled to begin trials. He did it to delay his own cases. He was charged with terroristic threats and inducing panic in connection with those incidents. In 2017, he pleaded guilty to falsification and inducing panic. He was sentenced to 180 days in jail. At his sentencing, he apologized to his family. He did not mention Aliza. He did not explain why he lied. Her daughter stood outside the courthouse afterward and said she was deeply disappointed. She said Moore showed no remorse. She said the family still had no answers. The following year, Ami resigned his law license. He served 6 months in prison. The murder of Aliza Sherman remained unsolved. Years continued to pass. 5 years, 6, 8, 9, 11. Her family never stopped pushing. In July 2024, Sanford Sherman, Dallas's ex-husband, passed away. Then on May 2, 2025, investigators made an announcement. A grand jury had convened. Someone had been indicted for murder. The indictment had been done quietly, carefully, and in secret. Authorities had kept everything close. When the arrest was made, it shocked everyone who had followed the case. Gregory Moore was charged with 1 count of aggravated murder, 1 count of conspiracy, 6 counts of murder, and 2 counts of kidnapping. The same attorney who was supposed to protect her. The same man who had lied about being in his office. The same person who had deleted evidence and obstructed the investigation from the very beginning. The indictment laid out a disturbing timeline. On March 24, 2013, Moore sent Aliza a message at 2:31 p.m. telling her to meet him at his office at 4:30. He went to the building. He swiped his pass. He did not enter. Instead, he disconnected his phone from the network so it could not be tracked. He had obtained a second phone through his law firm's Verizon account. He also controlled the firm's mobile hotspot. Aliza arrived. She waited. She sent messages. "Will you be here soon? Standing outside building." "Kind of cold," he replied. "Been here." She wrote back. "Doors locked." "I thought you would text me when you got here." "Been in car 45 minutes. How do I get in?" No response. She sent one more message. "If you are here, why don't you let me in?" "I guess I will go back to my car. Too cold. Text me when the door is open. Thanks." That was 5:21 p.m. 6 minutes later, she was attacked. Prosecutors allege that Moore or an unknown accomplice chased her and stabbed her before fleeing. The surveillance footage still does not confirm whether the figure on camera was Moore or someone working with him. Some believe he hired someone. Others believe it was him. After Aliza was rushed to the hospital and the street was cordoned off, Moore sent her messages asking where she was. He re-entered the building through a back entrance. He reconnected his phone to the network at 7:32 p.m. He kept calling her until 9:00 p.m. He had lied about his location. He had lied about forgetting the meeting. Now he was calling a dead woman's phone. On March 29th, Moore filed a motion notifying the court of Aliza's death. On April 2nd, the divorce case was dismissed. That same day, Moore transferred his law firm's cell phone number to a different device. He has pleaded not guilty. In the summer of 2025, he posted a $2 million bond and was released. He cannot possess firearms. He cannot leave the state. He is monitored by GPS. His trial is set for September 2026. The motive, if proven, is staggering. Moore was reportedly unprepared for Alice's case. The judge had already told him there would be no more delays. This was the same man who had called in bomb threats to avoid trials before. The indictment suggests he planned to kidnap her initially, intending to prevent her from attending the divorce proceedings due to serious physical harm or death. The evidence has continued to build. A judge recently granted a request by Moore to independently test DNA found on a watch recovered at the crime scene. His lawyer has stated that Moore has much to say in his own defense. The trial will proceed. The truth, whatever it turns out to be, will be presented in court. Trust is not something people question when they hire a lawyer. It is assumed. It is necessary. If the allegations are true, Aliza Sherman placed her faith in someone who was supposed to protect her interest during one of the most vulnerable periods of her life. Instead, she may have been walking into a trap she never saw coming. Long before her name appeared in headlines, it appeared in thank you cards and birth announcements. Families exist today because Aliza was part of their story. She helped them begin. That legacy cannot be erased. Yan, Her best friend said they spoke every day, sometimes several times. Just minutes before Aliza was killed, they exchanged texts. "Thanks for our talk, love you." Jan always said it back. Those words now carry a weight neither of them could have imagined. Most days do not feel historic while they are happening. They feel routine, forgettable, a quick message, a meeting on a Sunday afternoon. Nothing that feels final. We move through our lives assuming there will always be another chance to finish what we started saying. For Aliza Sherman, that day looked like any other. That is why cases like this stay with us. They remind us how fragile the ordinary really is.